Hello and welcome back to These Blind Eyes 6580. Don't forget to subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Now, if you don't know how to brown meat, go back and check out the browning meat video, how to brown ground beef. I didn't want to include that on this, just in case you already know, and just want to learn how I make my tacos. You don't need to watch me brown the meat. Plus, like I said in the other video, you don't brown meat only for tacos. So, one thing that you will need to keep in mind is I am doing around 2.5 pounds of ground beef right now. Most people will use about half that. You're going to need to pay attention because I am going to give measurements for that half amount. And I'm going to give what I'm using for this. I use, for the single batch, that's what I'll call the 1.25 pound. I'll call the 2.5 pounds a double batch. Single batch, I use 1 1/2. Now, sorry. I've done so many videos where I've talked about tablespoons, teaspoons, and serving spoons in the silverware set. Note that I am talking about actual measuring spoons here. Alright? If you are blind, you can get Braille measuring spoons and measuring cups on Amazon. Personally, I went with the bigger sets because I'd rather have stuff I don't need than not have stuff that I do need. Alright, I use 1 1/2 for a single batch, 1 1/2 tablespoons of chili powder. So for the double batch, that's going to be 3 tablespoons of chili powder. Single batch, I use 1/2 of a tablespoon of cumin. A double batch, that's obviously going to be 1 tablespoon of cumin. For the paprika, that is for a single batch, that is also 1/2 tablespoon. For a double batch, 1/2 tablespoon. For the garlic, I use granulated garlic for this. I don't use minced garlic or garlic cloves. For a single batch, I use about 3/4 of a teaspoon of granulated garlic, and for a double batch, I use about 1 1/2 teaspoons of granulated garlic. Salt and pepper is to taste. So you know roughly if you like salt or not. Salt is still good to add to things because it brings out the flavor. Pepper, if you don't like super spicy, then don't add any extra black pepper. Alright? So, I have here a plastic container that it's not Tupperware strength, but it's a good solid plastic container. It had sweet and sour sauce come in it when I ordered Chinese. I save these things. This is what I put all the seasoning into so I can shake it around, make sure it's good and mixed up, stuff like that. Now I am going to I haven't even turned the stove on yet. I'm taking and getting the seasoning, kind of spreading it around the top of this ground beef. And then I'm going to end up stirring it in. However, before I do that, I'm going to get my water ready. I use about 1/3 cup of, you'll want to use about 1/3 cup of water. Now you don't add the water yet. I'm going to go ahead and turn my burner on. Now my lowest setting is 3 o'clock on a clock face. The highest is 9 o'clock on the clock face. So medium is going to be around 6 o'clock, right in the middle. I put it between that and 7 or at 7. One last thing, tortilla shells. I couldn't tell you about corn tortillas because I hate them. I think the texture is horrible. Don't like the taste. I use flour tortillas. Currently, I have my tortillas wrapped up in foil in the oven right now because I'm making them for myself and both my parents. You can heat them up in the microwave. You can also, if don't do this with an electric stove, it don't work. You're gonna start a fire. If you have a gas stove, I'm just doing it myself, like for leftovers tomorrow or something. I'll throw the tortilla down on the burner, turn it on super high, and count to 12. Turn the burner off before you go to flip it, and then I will turn it back on high for another count of 12, and my tortilla's done. So I got my burner set at around 7 o'clock right now, and I'm going to start stirring the browned meat that's got the seasonings poured on it to get the seasonings mixed up. You want to get it mixed up pretty good. Then after that, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 1/4 pound or 2.5 pounds of meat. I guess technically you can get away with using more water with the 2.5 pounds. I just don't see the need. But you're going to dump that in. To tell you the truth, I don't know why you had the water, but it's something you do. I think it helps actually mix the seasonings and get it to cling to the meat a little bit more as it cooks in. Now, if you've seen my chicken taco seasoning video, the reason I use so much less garlic in this, because the rest of it's pretty much the same, but the reason I use so much in this, or so little in this, is because beef absorbs flavor way more than chicken and way more than pork. Okay, now I'm adding the water. Alright, water's added. Now I'm going to keep stirring it. Still trying to get up temp a little bit. I'm just wanting to make sure the reason I'm stirring it so much, if you can see and wonder what I'm doing, why, it's because I can't see, and I want to make sure it's stirred up enough. I don't want big clumps of seasoning sitting anywhere in the meat. So that's why I keep stirring. So hint to those of you who are blind like me, keep stirring for a little bit. All right, now the pan's starting to heat back up, get the meat cooking a little bit. And if you have watched the refried bean video, I took them out to the table. My mom tasted them, and I don't know how it could be different since I do it the same every time, but she said she thinks they're the best I've made. Why? Like I said, that doesn't make sense to me. The only difference is I maybe used 1 more teaspoon of minced garlic, but I don't think I did. Either way, if you can't see, I'm sure you can hear now how the meat's cooking. It's cooking, the water that's in it steaming out, cooking out of it. Now, when you can't see and you're doing something like this, listening to it's just as important as smelling it. It helps let you know when it's done. Because that sizzling, it'll start to slow down. It will start to slow down. I'm not stirring it, if you can't see, I'm not stirring it as much now. I am still occasionally stirring it, mixing it up, flipping it around, because I got a lot of meat in here. Like I said, I like to make this much because, for one, it's leftovers for tomorrow. For two, I'll probably use the leftovers to make tostadas, probably make a video for that. For three, there'll probably still be some left over that I can freeze. And that way, if I ever decide I want tacos sometime, I can get it out, thaw the meat, and it'll still be good, and I won't have to go to the trouble of cooking so much, or cooking at all, really. I'll just have to thaw the meat, heat it up, and I'm good to go. Alright, it's wanting to start finishing up here. I don't know how to explain some of this to you. Sorry if you're learning how to cook and can't see. I don't know how to explain it. It's just something that you start to get a feel for the more you do it. And you pay attention to the sounds of stuff when you flip it and when you're stirring it and stuff like that. Tell you what, they're smelling amazing, this meat is. I just got sick of, when I wanted tacos, it seemed like every time I wanted some, I was out of the packets of seasoning that you needed. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to take the time to learn how, like, what goes in it. And it took a while, it took some attempts. I can't tell you how many times I screwed it up. The chicken tacos I nailed pretty much right away. And I had no idea what was going on with the beef tacos, why they were turning out so bad. And then I sat and thought about it. It's like, well, they're bad because they're so garlicky. So I cut back on the garlic, and I'll tell you what. Pretty good feeling when you figure that kind of stuff out and when you start being able to do it for yourself. Especially considering the number of people who can see that can't cook for themselves anymore. I don't know if you can hear it over the video, but you hear that slowing down with the sizzling. It's getting a little lower in volume, and so it's just about done. It picks up in sound when you're stirring it and flipping it. So just so I'm not throwing it in at the end rushing, if you got any questions or comments, hit me up at littlemb6580@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'm going to go ahead and scoop a little out. Alright, that's perfect. Like I said, you can hear it slowing down, so it's just about done sizzling. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the burner off. I'm going to get around and go ahead and make some tacos and refried beans and Spanish rice. So till next time, y'all take care.